Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Late Nights and Party Chat podcast. I am one of your lovely hosts, Justice, and I am joined by my two bestest of friends. On my right, John. John, say hi.
Hi!
And on my left, my other good friend, Justin. Justin, say hi.
Hello.
And today we have something lovely to talk about. Something in life that happens to not only us but everybody, and that is pain. Because in life, sometimes you fuck around and find out. Just as we found out in life, some of the biggest injuries that we have. And I'm happy to kick this one off by telling a story that occurred to me when I was younger. So when I was roughly the age of 15, 14, 16, somewhere in there, early high school, I was in foods class, and our teacher asked us if we would help carry in groceries, and I was down. I knew right where her car was. I hopped up out my seat, I sprinted down the hall, I sprinted towards the doors, and I slammed face first, full sprint, into a steel door. Now, I was good. I kept going. I was fine. I pushed the door open. It got caught by a rug. That's why I ran into it. I kept going. Teacher, however, comes out after me and sees me and goes, "Oh shit." I'd never heard my teacher curse before, and I knew right away why, because there was blood all over my face. So I sprinted to the principal's office. They went full medic mode on me, called my parents, took me to the ER. 5 stitches later and a minor concussion, I had a cracked skull. But I dented that door, so I won.
I don't know if that's the takeaway from this story.
You
What do you
mentioned
mean, man?
a cracked skull, and my only thought was, oh, you too?
Well, you know what? You briefly mentioned something before the podcast. I would like to hear your story now.
Oh, mine's not nearly as impressive. I was a young shithead using the bathroom like you do. And the bathroom is linoleum floor. It transitions into the hallway where there is carpet. So there's a transition slip and a little bit of a bump up. And my bedroom was right across from the bathroom, basically. So I could run out and go right back to playing Legend of Zelda on my Nintendo 64. Or more than likely it was Pokemon Stadium. But anyways. So I used the bathroom, I got up and ran again, and went 0 to 60, tripping over that transition slip into the door. Like the thin side with the latch, and then the corner that goes to that big side, whatever, the corner of the door there, 0 to 60, and immediately into that.
Oh my.
I guess Dad called Mom and was like, "Hey, this happened. What do I do?"
He's just like, I don't know, bro. I've never been here before.
I have a distinct recollection of so they didn't give me normal stitches, and I have a scar on my forehead from it that you can see. They gave me the dissolving super glue stitches.
Oh.
And so the thing is that so I got them, and I had to go lay in bed, staring straight up at the ceiling. I basically was not allowed to tilt my head either direction, because if I did, it risked something with the glue not adhering and breaking open. We had to go back to the hospital because I picked the glue off.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
So they put the glue back on, and I was basically under monitoring from that moment forward until I was at the point I could be on my own and do stuff.
Oh my gosh.
I just imagine them putting you in permanent timeout. They're just staring at you.
Yo, okay, so this is another one too. My dad's a G. So I was drawn on the wall, the hallway of this house, when I was a little shithead. And apparently what I was doing is I would draw for a little bit, and then I'd look around the corner into the kitchen to make sure Mom wasn't coming this way. Go back, draw on the wall, look around the corner. Oh, Mom's not coming yet. Okay. So she comes over and sees me drawn on the wall, and then puts me in timeout until Dad gets home. And timeout is sitting, looking at the corner by the couch for, as a kid, apparently it was only 20 minutes, maybe.
But it
felt
like
like 3 hours.
Felt like hours. Hours.
Dad came home. Mom told him what I did. He looked at the wall in the hallway, looked at me, looked back at the wall, looked back at me, and said, "You're good." The 20-minute timeout was punishment enough.
So, I may be like the only one out of our friend group that had this as a punishment. But, so, have you guys ever been spanked before as kids?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I got slapped across the face one time in the Shopco.
That's a blast from the past because they don't even have Shopcos anymore.
I know.
So, like...
We're getting a Kmart in Norfolk.
What the fuck? Kmart's still a thing?
What the fuck?
I'm pretty sure it's a Kmart. I'd have to check.
Norfolk's still a thing?
It's being attached to the mall on the backside of the Planet Fitness they just put in.
What the fuck? They put it on Planet Fitness?
Why?
Right? That's what I was thinking.
Why at the mall?
Because our mall is shitty and has so many open spots. Our food court is a Chinese place, 6 boarded up windows, and then a Mexican burger joint.
And the Orange Julius sign that they've never taken down.
Is the pretzel place still there?
Yeah, that's still there.
That's all that matters.
I never go there. They're kind of mid.
So, like...
no.
My mom used to carry a slipper, and this isn't like a... Like, whenever, like, Hispanic kids talk about the chancla, I relate to that on a spiritual level.
It's scary.
So, like, my mom...
Scary shit.
Like, do you guys know, like, those old, like, they were, like, open-toed sandals, but they were made out of, like, thick, like, cork material?
Oh, yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I own a pair, I think.
So that was the slipper. And my mom used to carry that in her trunk. And she would always tell us, if you guys act up in the store, you're getting the slipper. So when we were about, I think, 10, 12 years old, the slipper stopped being scary. So my dad, being a Navy veteran, he started instilling corporal punishment. So we would do the corner, but it wasn't the normal standing in the corner and looking at the corner. It was, you're going to stand with your forehead and your nose touching the corner and your feet back. So you're kind of leaning into the corner.
Okay.
And the weight of like your head and your nose touching the wall is going to start hurting after like 15 minutes because you're essentially like Michael Jackson leaning into the corner. We also used to do like, yeah, right. We also used to do what's called flutter kicks and sharks. If you guys know what those are.
Oh God, yeah.
Fuck, is your dad putting you through boot camp?
Yeah, that was my. If I fucked up, it was boot camp night, and we like I shit you not. One night we did flutter kicks and sharks and push-ups and wall sits for 3 hours. I'm not joking.
Jesus.
Like 3 hours. So flutter kicks are you lay on your back, and you essentially put your hands under. Like at your sides, under your back or whatever to like get them out of the way, and you kick your feet up in the air like you're swimming. So like,
oh, okay, yep.
You do that for however long, and then sharks are you're on your stomach, and you're still picking your legs up and kicking your legs like you were doing with flutter kicks, but you're also doing it with your arms. So you're essentially kind of curved in the air, fluttering your arms and fluttering your legs for another indeterminate amount of time.
I don't know why those are called sharks, but they just sound horrible.
Oh yeah, they're not fun. So we also used to do just regular like push-ups, and then we did wall sits, which is you go up and you go into a sitting position on a flat wall, and you hold your arms out in front of you and you stay there for an indeterminate amount of time.
All about your core
I do know that one.
And
I do know that one.
My dad used to he used to make it worse depending on the severity of how fucked like what we fucked up doing, or like whatever we did that was fucked up. He would take our backpacks from school And he would take all of our stuff out of the backpack, he would set it on the table, and he would put our empty backpack, and he would have us put our palms up in the air and put our empty backpack on our hands. Sounds okay in theory because it's an empty backpack. But it's like you have to sit there and focus on keeping the backpack up. And after a while, that empty backpack feels like it weighs 100 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely.
So like
100%.
Yeah, it went up. It went up bad. So
I want to backtrack on just one thing here.
Yeah.
Spanking, yes or no?
I'm never going to spank my kids, but that I don't know. I don't see any point into it anymore. Like I get like some kids I'm not saying I am against spanking, because some kids definitely need it. If your kid's screaming at the top of their lungs in the middle of a fucking Shopko, and you're just sitting there like, shh, it's okay, calm down, it's okay. And like you're just kind of placating them. You're not even trying to get them out of the store or fix the problem. Take them outside, take them to the fucking bathroom, spank the shit out of them, and then leave. But like, I'm never gonna spank my kids.
So like here's my thing on that, because so like first off, you say like if they're screaming their head off, I'm assuming that comes with the caveat that they're like doing it to be a nuisance, not out of like they're a child upset about something, you know, like what a toddler would do.
Like, so like this is something that happened to me when I was a kid. Small side tangent that kind of goes into this. My cousin, we were in Big Lots, and me and my family had come down for a family visit, because we used to live in Davenport, so that was, you know, fucking 4 hours away from where we are, or where my family lived at the time. And we came up for a visit, and we went to Big Lots to go do some shopping. And my cousin wanted this bike, and she saw the bike. Or no, it was a new bed. That's what it was. She wanted this bed, and there was this purple bed at Big Lots. It was like it had purple sheets on it, and the bed frame was purple. She's like 3 or 4 years old, and her mom just got her a new bed because they had just moved like a few months ago. And she literally throws herself on the floor and is screaming at the top of her fucking lungs. Because she wants... Okay,
so that...
Yeah.
That is a scenario, I get it. To me, I guess my thought was, I was wondering if you were also including, like...
If they're a baby and they're crying, it's annoying,
shit,
but like... No,
but like there have been multiple times, like if I'm helping watch my nephews or niece, and like they just, you know, sometimes they get upset because mommy walked away, and... You know, so I'm like trying to console them,
right?
Bouncing them a little bit, you know.
No,
my thing is, like,
it's definitely situational.
Yeah, there has to be like a really solid reason. You don't. It's not something that just happens. Like, oh, I'm slightly upset. You're getting spanked. You got to get pushed there.
And like to me, it also really depends on the severity of what's going on. And the other important thing to me is that like. Right. The one thing that was like, I remember from a class when I was in college doing my education, elementary education stuff, there was like a parenting section to one of the courses.
Yeah.
And they brought up like getting spanked and stuff, and they said that like one of the big things, like, it's psychology, that's what it was. It was a psychology class. And they said one of the things was like, the reason that spanking is so frowned upon is because a lot of, at least at the time, a lot of people, when they spank their kid, they do it from like a place of anger. Hey, you're being a brat because I didn't buy you this bed, so I'm gonna beat your ass
because I'm angry at you. Yeah.
Whereas, like the example that they said is like realistically, they didn't advocate against spanking, but they said if you're gonna do it, you need to make sure you're not coming into it heated. And so the idea was like, you send them to their room, they sit in their room for 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, and then you go in there, you talk to them, and then you spank them.
Well, like I don't agree with that. Honestly, like I don't agree with that, because then if you're looking at it from purely a psychological standpoint, you sent them to their room, so they already know that they're in trouble. And then you come in, they already know that they're in trouble, and then you spank them. So it's like double punishment in a sense. You know what I mean?
I believe if you're gonna do it, it needs to be like the immediate, you have messed up so much to the point you have pushed me here. Like, first it's, I ask you, and then I maybe yell at you, and then I, like, really yell at you, and then I ground you. And if you continue doing what you're doing, like, there's no, alright, go to your room, and then I'll spank you later. It's right then and there. It's happening.
Right, like, because then it's just gonna give the kid mixed signals. Because it's like, okay, right. Well, he already got sent to his room, and then you're coming in and spanking him. I don't agree with that. I mean, that might work for some parents, but that's definitely not it for me. Like I said, I'm not going to spank my kids at all.
Well, and I think the big
imagine that scenario, because you go in there, you're like, hey, you messed up, right? Yeah, I'm gonna spank you now, okay? Okay. Like, that's not how that works.
Right.
Well, and I feel like their idea is that, like, you still do it because you're, like, ensuring the message. I understand what you guys are saying, and I agree with it. But to me, like, I guess the big takeaway to me that I was, like, kind of changed my perspective on it was just making sure you're not doing it from a place of, like, heated anger.
Right. And I can see that. I can see that, but at that point, it's also really hard. If you get to the point where you feel like you need to spank them, you're probably pissed.
And then if you take the time to, like, calm down from it, then it's just like, okay, well, I'm not angry anymore. I've already taken the steps. I've sent them to their room. Why do I need to go and spank them again? Or spank them?
Right.
But, like, I don't know. I think it's very situational, like Justice said. It's not your first resort. If they like, start throwing a tantrum and your first immediate response is, I'm taking you to the bathroom to beat the shit out of you, that's not okay. But like, if you tell them sternly, like, hey, cut it out, and then you yell at them, and then you yell at them a little more firmly, and then you like, okay, well, if you don't stop, you're grounded and we're going home, and they keep going, then spank them, because you've taken every alternate avenue you could. Because, like, 9 times out of 10, in this specific scenario of, like, the store thing, it always happens when, you're doing your grocery shopping. You're doing something important, you have to be at the store, you can't just get up and leave the store because you still have shit you need to do. So then your kid's just being a fucking idiot, and they're being they're being difficult, and you can't leave because you're still trying to get shit done, but you also don't want to keep them in the store because they're being an idiot.
Right.
So, like,
but
it's very situational.
Yeah, and I'm not a parent yet, so I mean, it may even just get to the point where, like, my parenting style doesn't, like, involve that, and, like, I hope that, like, I'm a good enough influence to my kid that, it never comes to that. I don't know, I feel like I'm saying it making it sound kind of fucked up, and I'm not intending to. Someone change the subject, please.
So back to fucking around and finding out. I was a kid. I was a kid once, believe it or not. I was.
No, you weren't.
I was young at one time.
Bitch, you still a kid.
Right. And for all of those that don't know, I'm not a severe asthmatic anymore, but I still have asthma. Like I didn't grow out of my asthma. I'm always going to have asthma. And when I was a kid, I was technically a severe asthmatic. You know, going upstairs, doing anything strenuous would just kind of flare up my asthma. And a bunch of my friends and I used to do this thing where, like, we would run and essentially shoulder check our lockers. Because, like, the way that the school was set up was, like, there was the hallway, but there was, like, little, like, sections of, like, 8 lockers on each side. So 16 lockers, but there's like 8 in each little, like, on each side. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't in the wall. They were, like, just kind of standing, like, islands of lockers.
Yeah.
And we would run out to go to lunch, and we would run because lunchtime, obviously, we're ready to go to eat, and we would go and shoulder check the lockers. Well, one day I did it, and I followed a couple of friends out. They would shoulder check the locker and then go to their locker. I fucked up and I ran too fast, and I didn't have enough time to, like, shoulder check the locker. So I ran fucking chest first into this fucking metal locker, like the metal fucking island that the lockers were on, and instantly knocked all the wind out of me and started having a fucking asthma attack.
Oh, buddy.
Like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, sounded like a fucking fish gasping for air. And I'm like, they're all like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine.
Get me, doctor.
But yeah, so, like, I never did that again after that.
Yo.
I can't say I blame you. I remember another time I damaged my head. I've done a lot of damage to my head over the more I stop and I actually think about it. At my last job, our back door that led to, like, the smoke area was also behind the dish pit, and the floor in the dish pit naturally got very, slick. Well, one time, me and my friend are coming back in from a small smoke break, and I decide it's a smart idea to, like, run and slide. I'd done it 100 times, so this time was gonna be no different. Except this time was different. I go and I slide. Now, right next to dish pit is essentially a metal box that they poured the drinks in to dump the leftover liquid, the ice cubes, the straws, all that stuff. And then they emptied it when it was full into the trash can. I slipped, twisted, and clocked the back of my skull on this metal box. And I instantly hit the ground. Now, I got back up. I was like, oh, I'm good. I'm not good. Fell right back down. I don't know if I got a concussion from that one or not, but I got back up after a couple seconds. I was fine. But man, that one hurt. Oh, there was a big ass bump on my head for about 2-3 days.
So, when I was a kid, my family had, like, a bunch of family pictures in like, picture frames with, like, the glass in them and shit.
Yeah.
And I went into because we had a spare bedroom where all of the pictures were. I went and I grabbed it, but, like, 2 or 3 of the pictures, and I had them under my bed. And I used to have one of those bunk beds where the bottom bunk would slide up into a couch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't know if you guys knew what that was or not. So, the bottom bunk was my bunk, and I had propped it up. My grandma had gotten me this, like, miniature Lazy Boy recliner for Christmas one year. So I propped up the bottom bunk of the bed with this chair, and I was under the bed looking at these pictures. I had, like, a little flashlight, and I was looking at the pictures. My brother gets up because he had to pee, and he goes and he doesn't see me under the bed, but he sees that the chair is holding up the bed. So he pulls the chair out and puts the chair back in its spot. As soon as he pulls the chair out from where it was wedged to hold the bed up, the metal bars fucking hit me on the back of my head, and I was kind of leaning on my elbow. My elbow fucking slammed down and shattered the fucking picture frame and just split the fuck out of my elbow. And I still have a fucking scar on my elbow from slamming my elbow into a picture frame. And I start screaming. Oh, my mom comes in and she sees that fucking I'm bleeding, or she hears me crying from under the bed. So she lifts the bed up. She gets me out of there. I'm bleeding. We ended up going to the hospital. I got stitches. Like, yeah, it was a whole thing.
Oh my. Ow.
I also have another one. Like, I have a lot of stories from when I was a kid. I was really fucking stupid when I was a kid. This will be my last one, and I'll let you guys talk. You guys know heated blankets, like the ones that you like plug into the wall, and they got the wires and shit in them.
You mean the one I might go grab in about 30 seconds? Yes, continue.
Yeah.
So we used to have one of those, and I didn't know how they worked. And I was a very I was a very explorative kid. I tried to figure stuff out and learn stuff on my own. So, and my mom was a nurse at the time. So my mom had a bunch of medical equipment and stuff in her house. So, I went and I grabbed a pair of her medical grade scissors, the kind of scissors that they use to cut people's pants off of them when they go to the ER. And I was cutting holes into the blanket to look, and I'm looking at the wires and stuff and seeing all the wires and stuff in them. And I go to cut another hole to look at something else in the blanket, and I'm sitting there and I'm cutting the blanket, and I start to feel something a little firmer than the cloth of the blanket. And I keep cutting and I keep cutting and I cut, and finally it comes off, and I just start feeling immediate pain.
Oh no.
Buddy.
And when I tell you, I cut off essentially all of my fingerprint on my fucking right thumb. I cut off a huge chunk of skin on my right thumb, and I'll show you guys the next time we hang out. I've got a white circle on my thumb that's the scar from me cutting off a chunk of my thumb.
Dude, what the fuck?
Yeah. I was not a smart kid.
Yeah, that's... Ow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
So I got two. I got two. One kind of similar, one not. I worked with a gentleman named TJ, and TJ is an ex-Marine. And he's a very interesting guy. That's all I'll say. Well, TJ, at our old job, we had to cut paper triangles for our fry cups. Would cut these triangles at least a couple times a week. Well, he's cutting them one time, and he'd done it so many times, so he wasn't really paying attention. And in the process, managed to almost cut his entire thumb off. And it's dangling there. And he's sitting there, bleeding. And the manager at the time is freaking out because his thumb is dangling, there's blood everywhere, and he's just kind of calm down, this really hurts, call an ambulance. So they call the ambulance, they take him to the ER, and unfortunately they were able to save it, but also not all of it, so his thumb is shorter than it should be. Mm-hmm. And every time somebody would cut paper after that, he would always look at us and just put the thumb out and then go back to doing what he was doing. But he did, man. Half of his thumb just gone.
Damn.
And then my second story is not as bloody. It's a funny one. I went down to visit my cousin Michael, one of the previous guests, one time in Texas. And I'm from Nebraska. I'm used to colder weather. He's not used to colder weather. So it was sleeting down there in Texas, which doesn't happen very often. And I had a white coat. And he was like, hey man, is there any chance I could wear that? I'm cold. I'm like, yeah, of course. So he puts the jacket on, and we go for like a walk to hang out in the park in the middle of some sleet. We don't know, we're dumb, we're kids. And we're walking, we're joking, we're having a good time. And he tells a joke. And I say something back to him. I don't even remember what was said. But he takes off running and slips, goes completely horizontal midair, and lands back first with a slap right into a muddy puddle in my white coat.
Oh my god.
And
you
this
can text
dude,
him when you get your phone fixed and tell him, hey, you owe me a white coat still.
this dude hung in midair for at least 2-3 seconds. Like, it was slow motion.
Oh my god. So, do you guys want to hear about the time I accidentally committed arson?
You too?
Yo.
So, to validate myself a little bit, I was probably about 4 years old. And my mom was home. It was her day off from work. And she was home with me, and I think my dad had my little brother. Or, no, Brandon was sleeping. Brandon was in his room sleeping. He was taking a nap. And I had asked Mom to make me some macaroni. So this was back in, like, the early 2000s. So my mom used to buy, like, the bags of macaroni, like the bags of dry noodles.
Yeah.
And she would put, like, Velveeta in it to, like, or, well, whatever the generic version of Velveeta was. And I asked her to make me some macaroni. She was on the computer and she was playing solitaire. And she was like, I will after my game. Just let me finish this and then I'll come in there. I was like, okay, that's fine. Or whatever equivalent 4-year-old babble is. So I go into the kitchen.
How'd I go?
And it's like, my mom said it was like 5 minutes, not even. I go into the kitchen, I grab the bag of dry noodles, and all I knew at the time was that Mom would put the dry noodles in the put the noodles in the microwave, and then I would get macaroni.
Oh, no.
So like, that's how it worked. It's magic when you're a kid. It's magic. So I took a bag, like a whole ass bag of dry macaroni noodles. And I put them in the microwave, and I hit the button, and I hit start. I accidentally put them in there for 30 minutes.
No.
And my mom is sitting at the computer, and I'm sitting in the kitchen waiting for my macaroni noodles to cook. And she comes out, and like she smells burning. She sees smoke in the apartment. And she's like, what the fuck? So she goes out and she goes and sees that these fucking macaroni noodles are spinning around in the microwave, just like a fucking lump of coal at this point. And to let you know where I got my smarts from, my mom opens the microwave. So she introduces oxygen to this hot, burning fucking pile of macaroni noodles. It instantly starts on fire.
Nice.
And
nice.
Just whooshes up in her face and is just burning. So she gets me and Brandon out of the apartment complex and calls the fire department. And I don't remember getting out of the apartment or, anything before that or after that. All I remember is sitting outside with my mom and my brother. My dad came home and the fire department is outside spraying a hose into our just absolutely fucked microwave.
So did you get your macaroni?
No, I did not get my macaroni that day.
Did you get
No.
Like I distinctly remember like seeing flames like outside, and I think that's just my 4-year-old imagination overacting. My mom said that we didn't end like because I always thought like I set the whole apartment on fire. She was like, no, it really just like burnt the wallpaper. She said like the wallpaper was burnt. There was some scorch marks on the ceiling. She was like, it didn't do anything terrible. I was like, damn. I thought I committed arson.
So he started that story with let me validate myself a little bit. I'm not gonna validate myself. I am a bit of an arsonist. I was like 12 years old in my best friend's grandma's garage with a lighter, some lighter fluid, and a WWE magazine, just burning shit because I wanted to. So me and him are there, lighting this magazine on fire, giggling, putting it out. Lighting it on fire, giggling, putting it out. And he's like, hey. Or no, I said, hey, do you have any gasoline? And he's like, I don't know, dude. That might not be a good idea. I said, no, I'll be swear. So we get some gasoline. And we pour it on the magazine. Light it on fire. Giggle. Put water on it. Now, water and gasoline, they kind of mix together. Well, they don't really mix, but the gasoline will stay there. And we put a little more gasoline on top of the magazine, not realizing it was still connected to the puddle that had been made, that my friend was now sitting in. So we lit the magazine on fire again. That lit the puddle on fire that he was sitting in. So I take a bucket of water. His pants are like, they're not on fire, but they're sitting in the fire. And I throw it completely all over him and not on the fire. Get some more water. Come back. Put the fire out. And he gets up and goes, you saved my life. You almost killed me. Funniest scenario I've had with almost killing my friend.
What
Damn,
the
bro.
fuck, guys? Like, I don't have another word for it. Like,
Nah, murder.
We're arsonists.
That's why we used to
gathered
have
that
bonfires every weekend, so I could just set shit on fire.
the worst I ever did was light a match and watch it burn down.
No, not enough.
No.
We gotta take John to like a field and just let him like burn.
Oh god,
some
we got to
stuff.
take him to one of those burns when they like set all the old trees on fire. Like they when they
Oh,
do
dude,
that
those are great.
When they do that in the middle of the cornfields, like we got to take him to one of those.
So my old ranch bosses, they did one of those in the middle of winter after a fresh snowfall. There was a 50-foot circle of snow around this thing in every direction. Or circle of melted snow. It was awesome.
It's just a big ass circle of just grass in the middle of this fucking field of snow.
It was. That's what it looked like, man. It was cool.
No, like I remember once, this isn't my story, but like I was there. My older brother Chris and I were we were having a bonfire one night with my family. And whenever we had bonfires, we would pour like gas on it and then light it and just let it go. But 9 times out of 10, it was a windy night, or it was just, the fire wouldn't catch right or whatever. So the fire would go out and we'd end up having to pour more gas on it. So one night we were like, okay, we're going to do something a little smart. It wasn't very smart, but we thought it was smart. We're going to take a bunch of
Naturally.
we're going to take a bunch of like plastic water bottles. Like, like the Ice Mountain water bottles. And we're going to fill them with gas. And we're going to put them in like different sections of this fire. So like sporadically, it'll get hot, it'll melt the plastic, the gas will come out, the fumes will light on fire, and then, the fire will restart. Or the fire will get a little bigger. So we did that, and it was going well at first. every time the fire would kind of start to go out, one of the gas bottles would kind of melt and then the fumes and it would restart the fire. The fire was going pretty good, and we kind of forgot that we put the gas bottles in there. And he's going and he's like kind of half standing in, like, because it wasn't a full like fire pit. It was like an old koi pond that they stopped using, that we started using as a fire pit. So he's kind of standing in the koi pond, kind of standing out of the koi pond, and he's kind of like moving some logs and stuff with a stick. Well, under one of the logs he was moving was one of those gas bottles. And he dropped like some embers onto that gas bottle and it melted the bottle. So he's standing there and he's moving stuff around, and all we saw was this big old flash of fire, and he just kind of like jumps back. And he falls on his ass, and he gets up, and he's like, damn, that was crazy. And like we go inside the house to make sure he's okay, and there's someone outside, like people outside still watching the fire. And I look at him and I was like, your eyebrows are gone. Like legit, that burst of flame, just like the flame and the heat, it didn't even like burn him or anything, but it just completely fucking singed off his eyebrows. So for like a solid, I want to say like month, he didn't have eyebrows.
Oh, that'd be the worst.
It was funny as hell though. It was so funny. We gave him so much shit for that.
Y'all, I'm starting to think I had a boring childhood.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Look, man, like, doing stupid stuff makes the best stories.
Oh, yeah. But we're getting to about 40 minutes, guys. Do you want to start winding down?
I think that's a wonderful idea. Obviously, as previously mentioned at the beginning of this episode, pain is something that's going to happen to everybody in life, but sometimes you can learn from the stupid decisions that you decide to make, because we certainly have, not being such arsonists anymore, and maybe running into significantly less doors. But with that being said, my name is Justice. Very happy you decided to join us tonight on the Late Nights at Party Chat podcast. Of course, I'm joined by my two lovely best friends. On my right, John. John, say goodbye.
Have a good night, y'all.
And then, of course, on my left, Justin. Justin, say goodbye.
Good night, guys. Be safe. Don't set apartments on fire. Don't run into lockers. Yeah.
Just
don't.
Just
live in a bubble.
Do what Jake Gyllenhaal did. Be Bubble Boy.
Oh, God.
Bubble Boy.
Is it done?